Good afternoon to all the English viewers of our program. I know you're probably wondering what's going on, all these Persian language videos that I'm putting out the last 2 days. And now you're wondering, after 3 Persian programs, that now we have our English channel. What's going on? So I will give you a recap of what the other 3 programs were all about. But first, as usual, let me post this into our Telegram page so that everybody can view it live, and then I will also send it to myself on my phone. Therefore, if there's any kind of problems, I'll be notified of it right away as well, and that way we can fix whatever problems there are right away so that you don't miss anything and that the program can go smoothly. Before we continue with our regular program of Jafar Al-Sadiq, part 13, the stripper and his teachings that are supposed to enlighten us, let me start with what I've been talking about in the last several programs. So as you all know, there is a war going on right now between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is not alone. In Palestine, there are several different terrorist organizations. The 2 biggest of them is Hamas and Islamic Jihad. You can say that inside Palestine, they have 99% backing by the Palestinians that live in the so-called country that doesn't exist as of right now, called Palestine. As Palestine is the name of a location, similar to locations all across this world, but people don't necessarily call themselves the name of a location. They call themselves a name of a country. For example, in Canada, there is nowhere in Canada which calls itself Hudson Bay people, or the country of Hudson Bay. There's no such thing. Country is Canada. Hudson Bay is location. Hence, there's never been a Palestine. Okay? There's been people that live in the Palestine region, but they never actually went with the name Palestine. If you look in the Bible, in the Old Testament, you will see a lot of groups of people that lived in that area. None of them were actually a nation of Palestine. Until when the Jews settled in, and then the group that were there unified themselves under the name of a location called Palestine. And this coexisted with the Jews all the way until the time of Islam. And when Islam took over the region, they demolished the name Palestine, and they killed off as much of the Jews as they possibly could. Hence, in the Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, you never see them mention the name Palestinians, but yet you see them steal the name Israel and Benu Israel, meaning the kids of Israel, and they continuously talk about how God gave the land to Israel and Benu Israel. So if we want to look at the biggest Zionist in the world, that would be the statue god named Allah. Allah, in his holy book, the Quran, continuously keeps saying this land is the land of Israel and Israel's children. Hence, there is no Palestine, according to Allah, the so-called God of the Muslims. And now the Muslims want to say this is their land because they invaded it. And so since they invaded it, they can keep it. And if we go with that terminology, well, today, the English invaded so-called Palestine, and the English decided to give it back to the Israelis. So it belongs to the Israelis because the invader, Britain and France, decided that this portion of their invasion shall be given to Israel. So once again, the Muslims lose, according to their own terminology. But there's a war going on. And in this war, Hezbollah, another terrorist group located in Lebanon, north of Israel, has recently also got involved in this war. So right now we're in a war that is on two fronts, from the south with Palestinians and from the north with Lebanese. I want to remind you, the one that is the big backer for both Hamas and Hezbollah for the last 44 years has been Islamic Republic of Iran. Islamic Republic of Iran also is the same backer for Russia with its drones. Allow me to see if I can screen share with you for a second the page of which we want to talk about today, as I have to go and deal with the cat and get it out of trouble before it does something it's not supposed to do. Let me go back to where we were, leave you with the page where I want you to be in, and once I see that happening, I will go deal with the cat and come back. Sorry about that. I took the screen sharing off as I have returned. Okay, back to what I was saying. Right now, unfortunately, the backer for these terrorist organizations and Russia is Iran. We have 3 wars currently going on. We have a war between Russia and Ukraine, which Iran is involved in. We have another war between Israel, Palestine, and Israel and Lebanon, which is considered as one war, 2 nations versus 1, which Iran is involved in. And we have another war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which are both next door to Iran. Iran, unfortunately, is not ruled by Iranian people. Rather, it is ruled by a group of a tight-knit family of 350 families who are all Arab descent. Meaning, if you look at their first, second, and third generations, you will see that they all came from Arab countries to Iran. They are from Lebanon, they are from Syria, they are from Iraq, and they are also from, you guessed it, Palestine. Some of them, minority of them, are also from Yemen. They've all been in Iran. Some of these people in charge right now are 3rd generation, meaning 3 generations ago, counting their father, their grandfather, their great-grandfather was the Arab who came to Iran. Some of them are 2nd generation, meaning their father and their grandfather was the one that came from an Arab country. Some of them are 1st generation, meaning their direct father was the Arab that came. These 350 families marry amongst each other so they can stay tight-knit, closed. separated from the rest of the Iranians. They've been committing genocide on Iranians for the last 44 years. Whether the world wants to know or not, Iranian people and the Israeli people are tied together. Like you bring two ropes and tie them together. They are the closest people to each other. This group of 350 Arab families have orchestrated, with the help of fake news medias around the world, a perspective, a narrative that they have fed the world for the last 44 years, that the people of Iran hate Jewish people. But that's a complete, utter lie. In fact, it is this 350 families that hate Jews and also hate Iranians. They commit genocide on Iranians and they find whatever way they can to kill Jews. Whether it's the bombing they did in Argentina to kill Jews, whether it's today when they help and finance and weaponize terrorist regimes in the Middle East to wage war against the civilian Jewish people of Israel. It is Islamic Republic of Iran that's at war with Israel, not the Iranian people. The Iranian people, majority of them in Iran and outside of Iran, want an end to Islamic Republic of Iran. As long as Islamic Republic of Iran is there, you will never, ever, ever get rid of terrorism on this planet. You want to get rid of terrorism? You want them to never attack an innocent country? You get rid of Islamic Republic of Iran. You remove these murderers who are nicknamed the Butcher of Tehran, Raisi, who couldn't even complete his 4th grade education, who's a puppet. A president in Iran is a puppet because Iran is ruled by Ayatollah al-Uzama, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the one in the West who they call the revolutionary leader, the Rahbar. Anyone you see trying to use that word, Rahbar, know that they are from the same line and have the same plan as this terrorist and father of terrorists, Ali Khamenei. That includes Maryam Rajavi. That also includes Masih Ali-Nejad, who pretends to be fighting for the people of Iran. But there is a video of her admitting she wants to be the next Rahbar, meaning spiritual leader, a term used by Islamic Shia fundamentalists who happen to also be terrorists. All the terrorists use it. Mujahideen Khalq Iran MLK is a terrorist organization. Maryam Rajavi is in charge of it. She is the Rahbar of that group. Sayyid Ali Khamenei is the Rahbar of Islamic Republic of Iran. And Masih Ali-Nejad wants to be a Rahbar for her regime in the future. Don't fall for any of them. They're all tied to the Clintons, if you must know. Big money. Money laundering is a big game in this world. Democratic Party, majority of the people in it, don't know what the higher-ups do. They don't want to know. They'll stick their head in the sand before they realize. They're a bunch of sheeples. And that's the truth. Carter brought this Islamic Republic of Iran in place only because there was money into scaring the rest of the world by a monstrous regime so that the rest of the world can buy weapons, American weapons, so that the rest of the world can go along with democratic American agenda. A bunch of rhino Republicans came in, continued that agenda, because the rhino Republicans are in tune with the same line as the Democrats. They're playing both sides. They profit at it. And the story continues. Two people suffer, the people of Israel and the people of Iran. When you attack the people of Israel, you're attacking the people of Iran. When you attack the people of Iran, you're attacking the people of Israel. The two are connected. You can't separate them. They've been connected for thousands of years, from the time of Kurosh the Great, who in the Bible is considered as Cyrus the Great, the right hand of God, as the Bible calls it. The smaller Messiah of God, who freed the Jews, whose kingdom after him and the one after him, Xerxes, built the temple for the Jews in Jerusalem. Remember, that is the rightful land of the Jews. It was part of Iran. Jews governed Israel, and Israel was under protection of Iran as part of Iran, where the Jews had ultimate freedom. They are connected from that point on. You cannot separate them because God connected them. Yeshua connected them. They are one with each other, and you cannot separate them. No human can separate what God puts together. Majority of the biggest rabbis in history were Iranian Jews. The biggest books that the Jews use, other than the Old Testament, are all written by Jewish Iranians. Go look at history and you'll see. The Jews of Jerusalem were with the Iranians even up to when they were fighting against the Romans, the Byzantines. They were together against every enemy because they had the same common enemies. Today, history repeats itself. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the enemy of both the Jews and the Iranian people. The only way to have peace in the Middle East is to remove Islamic Republic of Iran and completely dismantle all terrorist organizations in the Middle East. As long as the terrorist organization is there and money from the country that is sitting on the second largest oil reserves on the planet and the third largest, well, actually, I should say second largest gas reserves on the planet and third largest oil reserves on the planet, which happens to be Iran, and is using that money to finance terrorists, you will never be rid of them. And Israel is the first step. Once Israel is taken by them, the rest of Europe, and then the United States and Canada are the next target. However, we are also on the brink of World War III. Because a war with Israel means that it will spread into other neighbor nations. Today you see Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Qatar, all send out their tweets supporting the Palestinians, saying they are right in what they're doing. This means in the future, you may see something coming out of those countries attacking Israel, which would mean Israel would attack back. And the rest of the nations in that region, UAE, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, they will have to pick a side. Either they are with the rest of those Muslim countries, or they continue with their peace accords with Israel, and they stand against those countries, which means they might be targeted by Iran and all those other countries, which would mean a whole region at war. With Iran being tied to 2 of the 3 wars, and the 3rd war being in its own doorsteps, it means it is the connection between Europe's war and the Middle East's war. That is the connection that connects it into a world war, because Iran has allies in Europe called Russia. That means an attack on Iran would easily pull Russia into the Middle East war. And if Russia goes into the Middle East war, all those countries that are backing Ukraine with money, the EU and United States, they now will have to get involved. And that's how you ignite a World War III. We are this close, this close. If you want it to stop, you have to do something that makes Islamic Republic of Iran extremely weak. Number 1, you boycott buying oil from Iran. Number 2, you boycott buying natural gas from Iran. Number 3, when Iran sends its boats, its ships, its tankers under flags of Latin countries from Central America, you capture and you blow it up. Don't worry about cleaning the oil later. You blow it up so that that tanker no longer exists. Without tankers, Iran can't push high volume of oil and natural gas. That is how you break its back. You put pressure on England, because England is the one who has hijacked Iranian oil, calls it BP, makes dollars, while Iran still makes pennies off of the oil. You boycott BP oil. You don't let it come into your gas stations. When Britain feels the pain, Britain will stop the monster it created. Majority of the clergymen of Shia Islam take direct orders, have been taking direct orders from the government of England for hundreds of years. Khomeini, the founder, the Indian Khomeini, who became the spiritual leader of Islamic Republic of Iran, not to be mistaken with Khamenei, who's in charge now. I know the two names are similar. Ruhollah Khomeini, his father, used to work for the English embassy in Iran. Most of you have never heard it. But here in this channel, we tell you the truth. We don't lie and hide and cover up the truth and feed you a fake narrative like CNN would. We tell you the truth. Majority of these mullahs are nothing but little slaves of Master England who pulls the puppet strings. Without England's mastermind, Islamic Republic would fall apart. Islamic Republic has one more grandfather. Its other grandfather is Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the advisor to Carter, who said Ruhollah Khomeini will be the man to bring peace to the Middle East, and provided the vehicle transportation for Khomeini to get onto and go from the airport in Tehran to the graveyard of Zahra so he can give his famous speech. He rode in the official embassy car of the United States. But Joe Biden today is senile. The man can't control his bowel movements, doesn't know to go left or right, falls when he walks, doesn't even know who's the president of the United States. So Joe Biden can't do much on his own. It's the Democrat Party that's keeping him afloat and passing favorable laws for Islamic Republic of Iran. You vote him out and his Democrats. Stop England from controlling the puppet, and Islamic Republic of Iran has nowhere to go. The people of Iran want Islamic Republic gone. A coalition needs to be created. UN needs to be dismantled. This coalition needs to go to Iran and put a proper referendum that the Islamic Republic of Iran is not able to be in charge of, so that the people can once have a proper vote and remove Islamic Republic of Iran. This is the safest, peaceful way of ending these wars without it becoming a World War III. The second option is World War III, where a lot of people will die for no reason in a lot of countries, some of them being Western countries. You who live in the West have the power to put pressure on your elected officials so that they can make the right choice. It's up to you to see if you want to save your country from getting involved in another war where you see your loved ones, your countrymen, dying in a baseless war that will come up to nothing but set up the same stupid ideologies that were set in the past, putting wrongful leaders in charge of new carved up nations, which will end up at the end of it, which will put more people at the throats of each other, wanting to kill each other, just like they have the last 60 years with the last set of cut up new nations, which none of them have legitimacy of even being called a nation. The nation of Qatar, the nation of Kuwait, the nation of UAE. All of these are fake. There is no Bahrain. Bahrain is a province of Iran that includes modern-day Kuwait, half of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Yemen, and the little island known as Bahrain, plus Qatar. This was all one province called Bahrain up to 250 years ago, when the Britons slowly, like a mouse, started eating this land up, and by the end of World War II, carved it off and created a bunch of new countries. Of course, the French helped them. They don't tell you that part. But what did they do? They created these countries who all hate each other. Saudi hates Qatar. Qatar hates Saudi. Kuwait hates Iraq. Iraq hates Kuwait. Bahrain hates everybody else but Saudi, and everybody else hates Bahrain. And all of them, by the way, hate Israel. And all of them now hate Iran. And everybody hates everybody. Why? Because the British wanted the oil in the region. So did France. They don't teach you that part. Most people don't know that part. But now you can put pressure on them. You can tell them enough is enough. It's up to you, the free world, the individuals, to do what you want. Back to our regular programming. Let's go back to the page that we were in, and we will continue. This is where we left off in the last week. This is that book, the picture of that book, the book that we read to you last, Al-Kahf, Volume 1. Now we go to the next source for this story. By the way, before going to that next source, you will see the page highlighted in red. The red marking that's around it is the story. The next book, the story of Prophet Donkey Yafur. Okay, so that donkey Yafur is a prophet, ladies and gentlemen. Ibn Kathir, who says that he believes that most scholars of tradition, hadith, deny this hadith. However, he, Ibn Kathir, as Sunni, is being mentioned in a Shia book by Shias and being used as a scholar that is approved by big name Shias. And he says the following names that you see here were all big people of their own time, have said the following. What is the following? The pages will come to you a few seconds after I go to them up here. I think that's a delay from how the software works from Zoom. Sorry about that. I can't do anything about it. While you're waiting for the page, I will drink a little bit of water. In red is the story regarding the prophet, but it starts a little above. Muntar, who said, when Allah, the God of Islam, opened Khaybar. Now you might be wondering, what is Khaybar? So I have to give you, the English viewers, a little brief story of Khaybar. What the clergymen of Shia Islam have always told all Muslims is that during the time of the Prophet of Islam was going to war against the infidels, he pulled out his sword and he went and attacked all the little infidels, the infidel Jews ran into a little castle type place that they had, where they dug around it and there was water all around it. Like in the movies, where you see a witch has a castle, there's water, and then there's a gated door that comes down. I think Hollywood was stealing their stories from Islamic stories of Muhammad, the human shit, because his name was Qatam. Qatam is human feces. What can we do? You know, that's what his name was for 40 years before he changed it to Muhammad, which means the praised one, where you have to worship him. So he went from being called human feces to the one you worship. Who gave him that name? He gave himself that name. So we can go by his real name, not by the fake name he gave himself, but the real name that everyone, including his family members, called him for 40 years of his age, human feces. So the human feces prophet of Islam apparently went to war with Jews. Okay, get a piece of paper and a pen and write this down. The human feces prophet of Islam went to war with Jews in a desert, because Saudi Arabia is a desert. If you go into any map side of the earth and you pop up the country known as Saudi Arabia, you will see there are no rivers, no lakes, no seas in the middle of it, no bays, nothing. Inside that land is tiny little rocks and sand. The only water around it is the water of the Persian Gulf, the new formed Arabian Sea that 250 years ago was a Persian Sea, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea. That's all outside of the map of Saudi Arabia. However, in the middle of this desert, there is a giant, huge, humongous castle that fits the people of many towns. So this castle has to be bigger than multiple cities, surrounded by a deep, deep volume of water with a giant gate that opens from this castle and hits on the other side of the water, bang, on the ground. And then you can go in and out. There are no other ways into this castle. And apparently, the Muslims went to war. And Abu Bakr lost. Omar lost. Uthman lost. After 3 days, the Prophet, who doesn't have any miracles, according to the holy book of their statue god Allah, the clergymen of Islam will tell you, Muhammad, this human feces prophet, did a miracle. He stuck his finger in his tongue, and then he wiped it over Ali's eyes, and this Ali, who had an eye infection, became cured. And then he went out, and he went to this khaybar, and with one hand, he grabbed this door while his feet were in the air, because, I mean, if he stood in the water, he would drown. He stood in the air, grabbed this door with his hand, yanked it open, and then he went like this, like he's serving a platter of food. And the soldiers of the Muslims went on top of the door and he moved it like this, and they all went inside this castle, then turned it back again. Everybody sat on it, and he went like this, and everybody went in. I think Walt Disney was also in charge of this story, because, you know, all of a sudden, this Ali is Superman flying in midair, you know, with one human hand. He yanks open a door that is about 20 to 30 to 40 times his own size. And then he's got all the soldiers sitting on it so he can keep maneuvering them over. Doesn't it sound like an Avengers movie or some kind of a DC comic movie? And, you know, if Batman could only come up with what this guy was doing. By the way, where did this water come from? In the middle of a desert. Desert, okay? You guys know what a desert is, right? We don't have high volume of water in desert. You'd be lucky if you found a drop of water in a desert. All of a sudden, we have all this water, like this is the Atlantic Ocean. Volume of water out of nowhere. Gigantic door. Flying man. But the part they leave out, the part that they leave out, not to mention, Muhammad has miracles, but the Quran, which is the direct words, it's not inspired. These are direct words of the so-called Allah. Allah sat down and wrote this. Allah says Muhammad has no miracles in the Quran, and the clergymen say Muhammad does have miracles. So who is wrong? Is Allah, the God of Islam, a liar, and his book is full of lies, and the clergymen of Islam are correct, or the clergymen of Islam are liars, and the book is right? But don't worry about that part. The part to focus on is the part of the story that no clergyman tells you. But the human feces is about to hit the fan, because I'm going to tell you, we don't hold back in Dr. Mossavat's university, through Europe, through YouTube. We don't hold back. We tell you the whole truth. In Khaybar, when Allah opened Khaybar, so Ali all of a sudden turned into Allah. So Ali is Allah, Allah is Ali. Human feces prophet, he received at his share the spoils of 4 sheep. He got 4 sheep, ladies and gentlemen. He also got 4 goats. He got 10 pots of gold and silver and a black haggard donkey. In Islam, anything black is Satan when we're talking about animals. So this donkey is Satan. The human feces prophet addressed the donkey asking, "What is your name?" The donkey answers, "Yazid, son of Shihab." Allah has brought forth from my ancestry, meaning his fathers, 60 donkeys, none of whom were ridden on except by prophets. None of the descendants of my grandfather remain, but me. Notice here it said grandfather. It didn't say father. So his father must be alive. And the descendants of his father must be alive. And none of the prophets remain but you. And I expected you to ride me. Before you, I belong to a Jewish man. Here we go again with the Jew, whom I caused to stumble and fall frequently So you used to kick my stomach and beat my back. The Prophet, human feces, may Allah's prayers and peace be upon him. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, pay good attention to that part. I'm going to read it again to you and show you why Muslims have multiple gods and they do not understand they have multiple gods. Here it says, may Allah, the name of their so-called God, prayers and peace be upon him. Here, when you have prayer and peace, the first prayer is a worship prayer. The peace part is the prayer when you're in need. Because peace be upon him in itself is when you're making a prayer for someone. Like, for example, if I ask you to pray for me and you make a prayer for me, you may say, oh God, give him peace. Bless him with peace. Which means the prayer before it is not that kind of prayer. The prayer before it is where you are worshiping something. Like we worship Yeshua, Jesus. Here, Allah is worshiping human feces prophet, aka Muhammad. So Muhammad is up here. Allah is down here. Allah is worshiping towards Muhammad. We worship that which is more powerful than us, has command over us, has power over us. Hence, Muhammad has power over Allah, not the other way around. He said to him, I will call you Jafar. Oh, Jafar. You in English, you do not catch these phrases. Oh, in Arabic means Ya. Ya is an old word from Old Aramaic. Ya itself means God. So here when they say Ya Jafar, Jafar is the name of the God. It's Ya, God Jafar. Which God? Jafar. So now Jafar has also been moved up to the level of godhood. So you have Muhammad the God, Jafar the God, Allah the God. Everybody's a God. Polytheist, not monotheist. Polytheist is what Islam is. And Muslims don't know because they don't understand Arabic. They read like you do in English. You read this word, but you don't catch what it means due to translation. In translation, they can't give you the meaning that's original to that word. Modern day Arab today can read it in Arabic and still miss it. Because in order to understand it, he would have to understand where did the word come from, which in his language, they're not going to teach him. This is an old Aramaic because there's the old Aramaic and new Aramaic, and then there's also Arabic, which is a different language. But it's borrowing a word from old Aramaic. Not too many people today speak Old Aramaic to give you the meaning of a word that Arabic took from Aramaic. Okay. Then Yafur replied, I obey. The Prophet then asked, do you desire females? What a good Prophet. I mean, the Prophet only thinks of sex. He's always looking for a hole to penetrate into. A prophet, what you would expect from a prophet, give you some wisdom, teach you some knowledge, head you down the right path, tell you what is evil so that you don't fall in its trap, promote goodness. This prophet, the only thing in his mind is, which hole can I find so I can penetrate into it? And now he even doesn't care if the one he's penetrating into is a donkey, because he's asking the donkey, do you like girls? You like women? Huh? You like to have sex, in other words? And the donkey replied, no. You see the exclamation mark over here? That means it's a strong no. It wasn't just a no. The donkey went, no. The donkey was gay, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we're not saying anything to the gay people now. Don't get upset. What we're saying is, this prophet donkey that the Muslims have to now worship as a god was gay. I mean, if the Prophet of Islam was alive today, his picture would be on every gay flag. So would his donkey. Because, I mean, this is the only donkey in the world that speaks fluent Arabic. And from the very first moment you meet him, he tells you he's out of the closet. He tells you he's gay. He doesn't like women. Don't bring him no woman. That's not what he's interested in. So the Prophet used to ride the donkey. That has two meanings, you know both. To complete his business. That also has two meanings, you know both. And if the Prophet, if you don't believe me, just wait. And then this Prophet, human feces, this mountain from him. And he would send him, the donkey, to the house of the person he wanted to visit. And Yafur, the donkey, would knock on the door with his head. You know, in the movies, the guy who's the street guy, and he wants to have street fame, and he's like strong guy, and he walks up to everybody, and first thing he does is he gives people a headbutt in the head and breaks their nose, and then slaps them around. Yafur was that kind of guy. You know, he didn't use his hoofs to knock on the door, like most donkeys. When they want to get in somewhere, they use their hoofs. No. He headbutted everything, you know. He was a headbutt guy, you know. Thought he was a ram, but he was a donkey. What do you expect from a donkey? The story doesn't get any worse. Sadly mistaken. Used to use his head. When the owner of the house would answer the door, the donkey would signal to the person to go see the Prophet. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, call me a liar and I'll produce the hadith. The Prophet used to get off this donkey and he would do his number one and number two business on the side of the wall of the homes. And the people would come out and they would say to him, Salamun alaykum, human feces, 3 times. And he wouldn't respond because he knew they caught him in the act. Ask me and I'll produce it. When the Prophet died and the dogs, the street dogs, ate him, this donkey went and threw himself in a well of water in a desert where water is desperately needed. He threw himself in the water. And in the water that was in a well that belonged to a person named Abu Ali Haythan ibn al-Tahyan. And he called it the well of sadness for the death of his prophet, making this a book. You find this source in a book called Al-Bidayah wa An-Nihaya, page 33, 34. Now I will show you the book. You will soon have the picture of the book. Until you have that, let me drink some water. During 3 hours of talking, my throat gets thirsty. We'll also cut some time so that we can keep it in the hour. As you're seeing this, I'm going to move to the next page. While I read the next page, you'll be able to catch up to that page. The next page, before we start reading, is the actual page from that book. As I blow it up for you, you will see the numbers. The book is written in Arabic. And you will see bottom of that page. Again, it's in a red marking where the story starts. I've already blown it up for you. You will see it in a second. The next page is the continuation of that story, and you will see it shortly. And while you're waiting to see that, I'm going to read the next volume of where another book has a different story, and you will see that too. Abu Naim al-Asbahani narrates the following, gives you a bunch of names. These are the chain of command where this hadith came from. Every hadith has a chain of command. Most people, when they read you a hadith, they don't read you all this chain of command because they want to save time. Or they're reading from a book, but the book has a reference, and in the reference you can find the chain of command, and they've just written the actual hadith. Okay? A lot of new books do that. The older books start with the chain of, and they show you all the names, and then they tell you the hadith. Okay? I have gone through the renderous, time-taking portion of gathering the chain of command for you, so that when you take a picture of this and save it, they cannot play the game of, it's weak, who said it, where did it come from, no one that we know. These are all big names of the old time. These are all companions of the Prophet who are being named here. They can't play this game, not when you have these names. On Khaybar, a donkey came and stood in front of the Prophet of human feces. The Prophet human feces asked him, "Who are you?" The donkey replied, "I am Amro bin Fulan." Fulan, ladies and gentlemen, in English would be so on. So the donkey didn't know the name of his father, because bin is a word you use in Arabic when you want to say, for example, John, son of Hussein. So John would be where you see Amro, son of would be where you see bin, and Fulan is where you would have replaced it with Hussein. However, here, he's not John, he's Amro, son of, so on. Who the hell is so on? Nobody knows. We were now here in brackets. The author is explaining to you who these we are. The donkey and his brothers. 7 brothers. and we have been ridden by all the prophets. I have to stretch that for you so you pay good attention to it. All, not some, all. Meaning in Islam, Adam was a prophet all the way to human feces Muhammad. So all of them, from Adam until human feces, were riding on these 7 donkey brothers. Did you catch that? 124,000 so-called prophets in Islam, from Adam until Muhammad, they were all riding these 7 donkey brothers. You know how old this donkey was? Oh boy. And we have been, and I am the youngest among them, and I was yours. He was human feces donkey, okay? Just imagine. And I have been owned by a Jewish man. Here comes the Jew again. I'm telling you, man, in Islam, anything that goes wrong, it's the Jew. Come on. Human feces owned this donkey, but human feces has never met the donkey, doesn't know that the donkey even exists. And then we find out that the actual owner was a Jew. When I used to remember you, the donkey says, he is remembering the human feces. I had to spit. Sorry. The donkey would go, and he would throw out a giant spit at the Jew. And he used to hit me. Well, he has a right. You spit in his face, he's going to slap you. The Prophet said to the donkey, then I shall call you Jafar. The source, Dalil al-Nabi, volume 1, page 386 to 387. Next, you will see the book. I'm going to blow it up so you can see it. By the way, all these books are in Arabic. They don't translate them to any other language, because if they do, most Muslims that will read it, they will say, what the heck am I reading here? And they will start to think, can this truly be that I got to follow a donkey as my prophet? And how the hell was this donkey alive for so long? And then they will say, well, was it 60 of his ancestors, or were they 7 brothers? Which none of it makes sense, because 7 brothers and 60 ancestors are completely and utterly 2 different things. And the person will then think, who wrote this and what drugs were they on? And since these are all reported from the time of the Prophet, then they were all on drugs. And then they will start to think everything in Islam is nonsense, because this is quite nonsense. And so then they would all have to leave Islam if they're using their brains. Hence, none of this is translated so that the Muslim doesn't know about it, so that as long as they don't know, they can remain ignorant. And as long as they're ignorant, they will stay in the religion. And next, you will see the page, starting with, again, in red, where it starts. That will come to you soon, and followed by the page after, which again you will see in red, where it ends. While you're waiting for all of those 2 pages, I'm going to go to the bottom of that second page, and I'm going to read you the next one. Ghadi Ayad says, Ibrahim ibn Hamid has narrated through his chain, a donkey came to the Prophet on Khaybar, on the same event. The donkey said to Prophet, human feces, my name is Yazid ibn Shihab. Well, the name keeps changing. Then the Prophet, human feces, named the donkey Jafar. the Prophet, human feces, used to send a donkey to his companions' houses. When the donkey used to arrive at the houses, he used to knock the door by his head and call the companion. He would say, Umar bin Khattab, come on out. When the Prophet, human feces, died, the donkey threw himself in a well and died. Source: the book is called Al-Shafa بتعريف الحقوق al-Mustafa. Mustafa is supposed to be the Prophet of Islam. He has, 99 names. How dare Allah have 99 names and Muhammad not? Muhammad also has 99 names just like Allah. Come on now, he's equal and above. You are seeing it. We're going to go to the picture of the book. That is the picture of the book. It's going to come to you soon. Load it up. It's again in Arabic. And while you're waiting for the picture of the book, I'm going to go to the next page so that we can curve the time. And it shows you the page number. Again, it has a red underline where this starts. And I'm going to read for you one more so that you can catch up to where we left off in the Persian language. Ibn Hudaya al-Ansari, another big name of Shias. By the way, all these are Shia books. The author says, may Allah, the statue God, forgive him. Oh, the author's talking in third party. He's talking about himself. May Allah forgive himself. This is knowledge of prophethood. Oh, we're going to learn the knowledge of prophethood, ladies and gentlemen. The knowledge of prophethood. I wish I was one hair in the skin of that blessed donkey. He's a blessed donkey, ladies and gentlemen. And this author wishes he was just one strand of hair, who used to be with the Prophet of human feces all the time. Again, all the time. That means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where the Prophet went, the donkey also came. Now, don't get it mixed up with the ogre. And this donkey is not that donkey, okay? This means that the Prophet of Allah, human feces, Muhammad, had to live inside of a place where in a farm you keep your livestock animals, hence a donkey. That place is called a barn. And his skin used to touch the skin of the master of the men. Who's the master of the men? You guessed it. Human feces Muhammad. Why is he master of the men? Well, he likes the men holes. And his skin touched the skin. You know what that means when your skin touches the other skin? That means when you're going to sleep, you have nothing between you and the other one. Meaning they were doing a lot of boom, boom. I told you he was looking for the hole. You guys didn't believe. They're telling you. I mean, how do you want him to actually come out and say and describe how human feces Muhammad used his private part to penetrate. You want him to come and literally tell you this? Skin touching the skin, 24 hours together, meaning they even sleep together, naked, skin touching skin. What else you want? Not to mention that it was a miracle of the miracles of the Prophet, not the miracle of Allah, their supposed God. Rather, the miracle of human feces, the Prophet, who the Quran says has no miracles. I gave you a lot to swallow today. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The source for that, Al-Misbah Al-Mahdi, Volume 1, page 262. I don't make up any of these, ladies and gentlemen. The books are there. You're seeing it for yourself. The books are there. I suggest all of you go ahead and look for those books, buy those books, because the Muslim world, both the Sunni and the Shia, they want to take all of these books off the market so that people can't find them. Save them on your internet sources where you find these, and also order the books too, because you can always scan the books and put it out everywhere. You can always make photocopies of it and hand it to people. There are many ways that you can use this to enlighten and wake up the Muslim world, who unfortunately don't know their own sources, don't know anything about their religion. They just follow whatever their clergymen tell them, and their clergymen hide 99% of Islam from them because they're afraid if they ever tell this, people will leave this religion like a tsunami. Until next week, I leave you all in the hands of Jesus. God bless all of you, and we will see you next week. If you like this program,